to our Around the Schools Education Week special for 1985. In these specials, we touch on many of the programs we put to air since last Education Week, more or less as a reminder of where we've been and what we've seen. And while the range of programs in the Around the Schools series might surprise you, I must say that it always surprises us too, and we've been producing the series for quite a few years now. One of the big thrusts during the year centred on the federally supported Participation and Equity Program, or PEP as it's known. It's a program which, among other things, is aimed at providing school leavers with skills which will improve their employment prospects. Here are a couple of examples. Let's start at Oberon, where we saw students from the Central School playing a big part in running the town's Tourist and Community Information Centre. Through PEP, the students are learning about and in fact are helping to develop tourism in the area, something which may lead to improved employment prospects for many of them. At Molong, we looked at what's called a project for girls. At the Central School, girls are being encouraged to consider a broad range of career opportunities, including many usually thought of as being suitable only for boys. The school's PEP program has a strong practical slant and through guest speakers brings the girls into contact with women with unusual or non-traditional jobs. At Delroy High, there's a special PEP program for Aboriginal students. The course has the widest possible scope, ranging from a study of aspects of Aboriginal culture to advice about some of the opportunities available for school leavers in the modern world. At Delroy, the students are encouraged to set their sights as high as possible in relation to job opportunities. At Portland Central, students are able to gain a remarkable range of practical skills from their PEP courses. The practical approach has gained support from employers and the community at large, who see the courses as being particularly relevant for Portland Central School leavers. And now from Portland's bricks and mortar to something a little less substantial. There are no cement blocks here. This old miner's hut was erected by students at Broken Hill High School as part of the city's centenary celebrations. The old far western city's early heritage was really brought to life during its centenary week. It's a week that will be remembered for a long time to come. From Broken Hill to the Philippines, or at least to Cowra, where the Philippines was guest nation at Cowra's Festival of the Lachlan Valley. Local schools are fully involved in the festival, which provides them with the opportunity to learn about and experience other cultures.
Another attempt.
Back in Bathurst, we were once again in contact with some of our own heritage when students from Bathurst West Public School visited a local museum as part of their social studies course. This practical approach to the study of local history has added a great deal more meaning to children's studies. And of course it adds interest as well. In some places, when we think of social studies, we think of MACOS. That stands for Man, a Course of Study. MACOS is not just interesting for students, it can be exciting too. In studying man and his behaviour, MACOS looks closely at the behaviour and social organisation of other cultures and indeed other species. We went to Morgan Street School in Broken Hill to see this MACOS course in action. To further cultural studies and international understanding, senior students at Molong Central School visited Japan. The visit was sponsored by Rotary and was the opportunity of a lifetime for many students. Unfortunately, we couldn't go with them, but they did keep us in mind and brought back plenty of slides. Today we welcome children, very ugly children, from Raglan Public School. On one occasion, we actually stayed at home and had a school come to us. Students from Raglan Public School wanted to find out how radio and television programs are made. It was part of their media studies program. We did our best to show them, and later, back at school, they followed up their visit with a study of other aspects of the media. We were out and about again when Lithgow High School's young musicians visited isolated schools in the far west of New South Wales. Instrumental groups of this size are not often seen in the West, but when they do visit the area, there are valuable experiences for both the musicians and the audience. And some very good musical experiences came to the region through Musica Viva. It's through visits such as these that students are able to see and hear some of Australia's finest musicians in action. But there's more than that. They learn something about the instruments, how they produce their sounds and so on. We covered visits by the Sydney String Quartet and the group known as Sound Sources. Sound sources had many surprises for the children, and they were able to convince all of us that with a little imagination we could all go home and produce music using very basic equipment indeed. We found music of another kind at the Kirinari Hostel in Sydney. The hostel helps foster cultural heritage and of course provides care and accommodation for Aboriginal students living away from home. The students attend nearby Gymea High School. Back in the West, Aboriginal auxiliary staff are helping greatly in the process of providing more effective education for Aboriginal students. Burke High, for example, has an Aboriginal teacher's aide and a home school coordinator. They're people the Aboriginal students can look up to and respect, and who, through their work, bring the school and the Aboriginal community closer together. Further down the Darling at Louth, we met education officers from the Royal Botanic Gardens in Sydney who were in the isolated area especially to visit schools. Bringing exotic plants from the Botanic Gardens to outback schools may not be quite the same as taking the children to see the gardens in Sydney, but the visits are important to the children nevertheless. One spin-off is that the Gardens education officers are able to take the children on short field trips so that they can learn something about the plants in their own area. And many Western trees and plants have quite useful qualities, as this professional woodturner showed us. He uses Australian native timbers as his raw material and produces excellent pieces from them. On this occasion, he was at Dunedoo demonstrating wood-turning techniques to secondary students. He'd previously been in Dubbo working with teachers of industrial arts. This Around the Schools program created quite a deal of interest and is now used as a resource in many schools. We saw many interesting art and craft activities during the year, including puppet making. In Bathurst, we covered a very good puppet production, one which had been arranged by children. This minor skirmish at Kelso High gives some idea of the unusual stories we covered. As it happens, it was simply history in action and a small part of the school's history course. Being able to see, touch and actually use items of historical interest, such as these pieces brought to the school by the Warriors, adds a great deal of interest to the study of the subject. The Warriors gave quite an expert display. Now to something a little more peaceful, but equally expert. Aldo Gennaro has a special talent for working with the handicapped, and for a time brought his expertise to Karen School in Bathurst, where he worked with the children to help with aspects of their development. Aldo spent 2 weeks in the district working with disabled people. We saw too how handicapped children and their parents received assistance at the early intervention unit based at Mitchell College. Children who are referred to the unit have a whole range of specialist services available to them, and parents say that the unit not only helps the children, it also teaches them useful techniques which they can put into practice with the children at home. And while it's obviously a challenge, working with the handicapped can be fun too. Here, students from Dubbo South Public School are with children from Dubbo's West Haven Special School. The Dubbo South students worked hard to make their integration scheme with West Haven a success and rounded it off with a combined camp at the Lake Burrendong Sport and Recreation Centre. The Lake Burrendong Centre is important to schools in the West. Music and creative arts camps are held there, and in recent times regional student government camps have been held there too. The Student Government Scheme helps students to develop their administrative, organisational and public speaking skills and encourages them to take an interest in those school affairs which directly relate to them in a way which enables them to make a positive contribution to the school. These skills are perhaps most visible at Youth Forum, held each year at Mitchell College and attended by students from schools all over the state. It's a fine example of student organisation and participation, and during their time there, the students present skits which highlight their concerns.
On your HSC, you've just completed this 6 stimulating and exciting years of education. Now you're certified, guaranteed and educated.
The forums provide a platform for talent and are a shop window of student issues and opinions. They're always a delight for those adults who are able to attend.
What for?
The 84 Forum was a good lead up to International Youth Year. We helped the Department of Education's IYY committee in the West to promote International Youth Year by producing a video which outlined the operations of the committee and suggested activities which would help make the year a success. The students knew a trick or two about gaining publicity for IYY. This was just the thing to attract media interest. We looked at more out-of-school activities at Kandos High. More correctly, they were within school but out-of-hours activities. With a little help through a specially funded program and the voluntary efforts of school staff, Kandos High is able to provide a whole range of after-school activities for students. Many students who felt that there was little to do out of school hours told us how much they appreciated the scheme. It is not only secondary schools which are doing this. These Calare public school children are learning to sign, as it's called, in an after-school class. There are many other activities available too. This plant propagation class is one of them. And sadly, plant propagation was one skill which was very much in demand at Weethally during the year. The school lost its whole garden area in the drought, and for a while things looked pretty grim. But students soon set about laying out a new nature area, one which will be drought-proof with a little luck. At the time we were there, we were quite impressed with what had been achieved. This fitness activity is organised by the Bathurst Primary School Sports Association. We aren't usually able to cover sporting events, but last year we did manage to gather some footage of the Western Region hockey team. We were interested in their training program and took our cameras to Toorawina for a short time. There were some very good players in the team, two of whom made it into the state side. That was about a year ago now. But exactly 1 year ago, we were at Mandurama Public School celebrating this very week, Education Week. The Mandurama students prepared a special Education Week banquet for parents. It was part of their nutrition course, and the banquet proved to be a very good way to mark Education Week and to show off social graces and cooking skills at the same time. During the year, we also made quite a number of resource videos, as we call them. They're really for use in schools, but some are suitable for airplay as well. This one, which we made for the Southwest Riverina Country Area program, dealt with basic skills, safety and first aid in the great outdoors. It contains information which is valuable for all children, and so we included some of it in our series. In another series for Southwest Riverina CAP, we followed the Murray from its source to the irrigation areas in the west. On the way, we saw how people made their living from the river, what they took from it and what they put back into it, and how careful the authorities were to see that no problems arose. It was exciting to see this fellow pulling snags from the river. We looked at the ways in which water is distributed and how it's used to grow crops. We'll bring you more from this series during the coming year. We think that you'll find the programs on salinity and the problems it causes quite interesting. We made this video for the Western Region Disadvantaged Schools Committee, which provides specially selected schools with funds to help improve educational opportunities for children. Under the Disadvantaged Schools program, it's teachers, parents and community members who decide on projects which will make school more relevant and enjoyable for children. Another of the videos we made for teachers during the year looked at process writing, or conference writing as it's commonly called. The process approach is proving to be a very effective method of teaching creative writing, and it works for children from kindergarten to junior secondary in all subject areas.
He has got black hair. I love him.
Among other things, process writing encourages children to get their ideas down quickly in the first place, and later, through editing and rewriting, it polishes the work for what's termed publication. There's another video on how to improve editing skills.
Everyone quietly says.
And through video, we try to help teachers identify those children at their school who may have a hearing problem. It's by no means easy to tell if a child has a hearing problem or not, and when it is discovered, it's usually quite a surprise for everyone concerned, including teachers and parents. We even made a video on resource teaching. It's a comparatively new field in education, one which concentrates on working with children who need additional help for some reason. In our video, we showed how a number of resource teachers go about their work and the many effective ways in which they relate to children and other teachers. In a region such as ours, where teachers and schools are fairly well spaced out, videos such as this one are an important means of disseminating professional information. Music wasn't overlooked during the year. This video, which we made for the Metropolitan West In Service Committee, will soon be available to all schools in this region. It contains a wealth of ideas for teachers looking for inspiration and fresh approaches in music. And as students take an increasing interest in the management of some of their own affairs in schools, we trace the history of student government activities in the region through video. From West Wyalong High's initial handbook on it and its presentation at Forum 81, to the foundation of the Regional Association of Student Government, its camps at Lake Burrendong and other activities. The video is in increasing demand as more and more schools become interested in student government. There was a video for parents during the year. It's one which shows how social studies is taught in schools today and why changes in teaching approaches have been made. Keeping up with movements in education is always difficult for parents, and it's often impossible for schools to provide enough information to explain the changes. We're doing our best to assist with this. The video should be of interest to P&Cs and other community groups. Our latest series for teachers is one we've called the Lighthouse Series, and it's proving to be very effective indeed. In it, we look at new ideas and teaching strategies which are already working well in schools in the region and let other schools know about them. At regular intervals, we produce what might be called news tapes containing 5 or 6 items and make them available to all schools in the region. And of course, there's the Your Child at School series. We were able to make only one run of programs in this series this year. It was a run made with school counsellors. They talked about the problems which many parents experience with children and gave some advice about how problems might be overcome.
Natural consequences. The natural consequence of your child playing dangerously on the road could be an accident. So you don't want natural consequences to occur. You can set up logical consequences. And logical consequences are based on mutual respect. And what it means is this. You say to the child, I respect your right to ride the bike. I'd like you to ride the bike. I'd like you to exercise and enjoy the fun of it. But you need to respect my wishes by not riding it on the road where I feel that you'll be endangered, so that the child is allowed to ride the bike within the yard, but not out on the street, and to prevent the child putting himself at risk. You can say, well, look, if you do ride out in the street, I'll have to deprive you of the use of your bike because you are putting yourself in danger. Now, that's different to a direct punishment where the child is slapped or hit for riding on the street. It's simply that the child has...
Remember, the Your Child at School series is designed to help parents, and so we'd welcome suggestions about possible topics for the future. If your local school wasn't mentioned this year, then make sure it is next year. You can do that by letting us know when something which might make a program is going on in your school. Talk to your school principal or contact us directly and we'll take it from there. But whatever else you do, don't let Education Week go by without giving a little thought to your child and his or her schoolwork. A little praise will do wonders, and so will a visit to the school. You really will be welcome. We'll be back next year. Until then, goodbye.